So we have the 2014 of the Championship 2021-2022 season now confirmed. Brentford are gone and Blackpool have joined the Championship. Let's talk about it here. What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. The playoffs in the EFL have pretty much done. Morecambe and Newport will be playing when this video goes out. But I thought it would be a good video today just to kind of reflect what has happened in those two playoffs. What are my opinions in those four teams competing in those two playoff games? If you guys like what you see, please make sure do give this video a like. It does tremendously help. If you guys want to see some stuff with the Euros, let me know in the comments down below what sort of content you want to see for that. And please share my channel to as many people as you can. 4 subscribers away to 550 as of recording this video as well. So if we can really get to that by this week, that'll be tremendously appreciative. But with any further ado, let's talk through those two games in depth. So we'll go through the first game here. So Brentford and Swansea, it ended 2-0 to Swansea, as you can see from here. Now, what I felt with this game, it was now or never for Brentford. I said it in my score predictions. When you finish third in a championship 2 seasons in a row, you are knocking at the door to try and get into the Premier League. And one thing I didn't actually know in terms of stats, only one team ever, I think, has lost 2 consecutive playoff finals. So it's very, very rare for a team to lose back-to-back championship playoff finals. So there was something within me. I thought Brentford were going to do it on the day. But there was that element of doubt. This was their 10th playoff. Of course, their 4th playoff final. And they've lost their previous 3. So in terms of mentality-wise, I was a little bit worried for Brentford going into this game against the Swansea side, who have had experience in the playoffs before. But of course, as you can see, it did end 2-0 to Brentford. It wouldn't say it was as comfortable as the scoreline represents. As you can see on this diagram here is the attack momentum. It's something I do like to go to every single time I do my live streams. So as you can see, Swansea started off a little bit, but then it was all Brentford. They started off very, very strong, got a very, very early goal, and it was from an Ivan Toney penalty. Now, the cause of the penalty, it was a brilliant through ball pass, and Mbeumo got the ball just before Woodman, and then the penalty was won. Toney stepped up for goal number 33. He scored it to make it 1-0 to Brentford. And that was 8 minutes in. So Swansea already were in the back foot and they needed to try and get something. And it didn't help. Brentford countered and they scored. It was pretty much Brian Mbeumo, and it was 1 versus 3. Toney joined in the race, so it was pretty much 3 versus 2. I think only Gueye and Norton were in the back. Cabango and Grimes eventually caught up. But then by that time, Ruislev, right here, managed to make the run ahead of Mbeumo. He laid the ball off to him. And then Ruislev, with the amount of time he managed to have to find and pick a pass, you know, he had so much time. And eventually, as you can see here, Emiliano Marcondes ran to the centre, pretty much free of space. First time shot past the reach of Woodman to make it 2-0 to Brentford. And this was before 20 minutes in. You've got to remember that. This big stem of momentum is down for Brentford's 2 goals. Now, I did expect Swansea to try and respond from this, and they did. Look at this big spike here. Now, they weren't really too threatening in that first half, and I'll quickly show you the stats. So, as you can see, I will show you the first half stats first. So, 57% of it went to Swansea. Now, we talked about Swansea, a team that don't have the ball much at all. They needed to control the ball from Brentford because they were chasing the game. And when you chase the game by 2 goals, it is a huge mountain to climb and you need a lot of things to go your way. Now, obviously, Brentford had the better of the chances. 5 shots to Swansea's 2, 3 on target, 2 of them being goals. And I tell you what, they hit the woodwork as well, as you can see here. That was from an Ivan Toney half volley. If that got in, you would have seen it. You know, I absolutely nearly panicked when I saw that shot nearly go into the net. It was like a Frank Lampard versus Germany shot that just bounced on the line but went out. Although Swansea, as you can notice, hit the woodwork, and it was actually the closest they got to scoring in that first half. Corner in the last minute, actually, of that half. Andre Ayew winning the header, and it hit the top of the crossbar, so it wasn't as close Azema Toney in my opinion, but it was the only sniff of goal that Swansea really had, because as you can see there, no shots on target. David Raya didn't even need to make a save. In the second half though, it was a little bit different. With the momentum right here, it was mainly Swansea, because of course they had to chase the game. But one thing that didn't help them was when Jay Fulton, as you notice here, got red carded. It was a very, very poor challenge. It really, really was poor. I can't remember who was, I think it was on Jensen, that challenge. It was one of the worst tackles I've seen for quite a while. And it was Swansea getting frustrated, because Swansea, in that second half, definitely went the closest to scoring. They missed one big chance where, as you can see here from that big spike here, Andre Ayew had a free header. Janssen gave him way too much space at one cross, and he headed wide off the post. I tell you what, if he hit the target and it was 2-1, it would have been a very, very interesting encounter from then on in. But nothing went Swansea's way. As I said, they did go down to 10 men. And when they did, they found it a little bit more difficult to create chances. As you can see, the spikes weren't as elongated as this one was, you know, especially in the first half. So Swansea then found it very, very difficult. Whilst they did have more of the ball, because, you know, they had to, Brentford could now sit back and try and defend. They had 2 goals to chase, and it was already impossible for Swansea to get back there. But the big thing I'm disappointed in, 0 shots on target from Swansea. I'm not surprised Brentford didn't have any, you know, they didn't need to. They already had a 2-goal cushion. But Swansea had 0. And that was what was really disappointing. For the very little opportunities they made, 6 off target. So that just shows for how wasteful they were. And the one big chance, as I just said, that was from the Andre Ayew free header, which I think they should have done a little bit better. But look at this, within 45 minutes, only 4 shots outside of the box, only 3 shots in the box. I mean, to put the average on it, that's like 1 shot outside the box every 10 minutes and over 10 minutes for shots inside the box. So Brentford made it difficult for Swansea. I won't deny that. They really, really did. And in fact, if we talk about the tactics and the formation, so you can see the squad right over here. As you can see here, Brentford did have 3 at the back. They allowed Canossa and Roerslev to push further up the field. And it was pretty much an unchanged team from that second leg game against Bournemouth. And I'm not surprised, because that Brentford team played at their best with that formation and the squad of players. Swansea only made one notable change. It was Wayne Routledge, who still was picking up that injury in that game against Barnsley. But Connor Roberts took his place, and almost a slight tweak of the formation. Of course, we were known for Swansea having 4 at the back. It looked like they were going forward at the back, so it could have been Norton right back and then Cabango, Gueye and Bidwell going back. But because they had to be so advanced up the field from the fact they conceded 2 very, very early goals, the formation had to almost be tweaked for a 3-1-4-2, meaning that Bidwell had to be more advanced to work with Connor Roberts here and almost act as 2 wing backs, but in this case there were 2 wingers in this game, and then converted back to a back 3, Gueye, Cabango and Carl Norton being the 3 centre backs. Grimes had to try and hold and dictate the midfield and to protect the defence. And unfortunately, he wasn't really there where they needed him, where Brentford scored their counter-attacking goal. When they missed Jay Fulton, that was a big blow, because he was one of the few players that could feed a really dangerous ball into the attackers. And Jamal Lowe, you know, apart from one moment of brilliance where he dribbled past about 2 or 3 Brentford players and shot off target, he had next to no service in the game. And same with Ayew. They barely were introduced in the game, and that was what was disappointing. You've got to praise Brentford's defence. They were absolutely brilliant. Ethan Pinnock, I think, being the best one, and SofaScore agrees with me as well. He probably even should have scored a goal if Pontus Jansson wasn't in the way of his shot as well. So Ethan Pinnock definitely stood out for me. In terms of the man of the match, I awarded to Mark Condes, which I do understand with the goal he scored and actually the free kicks that he won as well, and with his game management. He was fantastic in that role. Tony deserves a shout out, and Boomer actually deserves a shout out for winning the penalty as well. All of them do. Jensen was great as well. I think every single one of that squad was brilliant. The only one I wasn't too sure about actually was Pontus Jansson maybe. Fair play to Brentford. First time in the top tier of English football in 74 years, and the first ever time in the Premier League. And I'm really excited to see how they compete in this league as well. Definitely they will need to have a few transfers to compete with the Premier League quality, but with that style of football, they could definitely set the Premier League alight, and Ivan Toney is definitely going to have his chance to try and prove his doubters wrong and play at Premier League level, which I'm really happy for him for. So whilst we say goodbye to Brentford, let's reintroduce Blackpool to the Championship, because they are now back in the Championship for the first time in 6 years, following a 2-1 playoff final win over Lincoln City. It was a very, very close game, and it was a very thrilling game to watch. I'll show you the attack momentum first. So Lincoln started very, very well. In fact, they scored within 47 seconds. Oliver Turton with a very unfortunate own goal, but poor goalkeeping by Chris Maxwell here. He should not have left the ball from that cross. It was a very dangerous cross by Brennan Johnson, but Maxwell should have done better in that situation and shouldn't have relied on Turton to try and clear it. Unfortunately, when it hit Turton, there was nothing he could do. It was going to be a very unfortunate own goal for his part, but it could have been very well avoided. And Lincoln, as you noticed from that goal, actually were the better team. Johnson was having so much success managing to go through to that left-hand side. Garbett and Husband were finding it very, very difficult to compete with him, and Johnson could have had a couple more goals actually. But eventually, within around the 20-minute period, Blackpool started to dictate the play a little bit. They started finding their confidence, and one thing that they changed as well, which I did notice, they were being a bit more passive in the opening stages of the game. But when they switched it up and had a more direct approach, with Maxwell taking a couple of long goal kicks to find someone like Jerry Yates or Elliot Embleton up front, that is when Lincoln were very, very shell-shocked, because Blackpool was starting to change their style of play. Now, that is definitely how they got most of their opportunities in the end. And actually, the 2 goals came from Kenneth Dougal. Now, the first one, I think Alex Palmer should have saved. That might be a bit harsh for me saying that, because he actually made a fantastic save from Dimitri Mitchell literally about 5 minutes before that goal, but he did get a hand to it. It was a very clean strike by Kenneth Dougal, don't get me wrong, but Palmer got a hand to it, and I felt he probably should have kept it out if he had stronger hands there. But let's show the stats. So we'll show the stats of the first half. 53-47 for Blackpool. So overall, they slightly edged Lincoln with possession. 7 shots to 3, 6 shots on target to Lincoln's 0. The only reason they got a goal, of course, was from an own goal, which doesn't count as a shot on target. So Blackpool were very, very dangerous, and Palmer had to make quite a fair few saves, but one big chance is being missed. Both teams had one big chance missed each time. I think Lincoln's big chance was when they hit the woodwork from George Grant. It was very, very close actually, and I thought it was going in for a minute there. But Blackpool also missed some big opportunities as well. But when they got the equaliser and it was half-time 1-1, I did think Blackpool would be the favourites to win this. But in the back of my mind, I knew Lincoln were good in the second half. They scored 66% of their goals in the second half. So when Lincoln took the lead in the 47th second, that is why I was so shocked to see a goal from Lincoln this quickly, because they don't start games well at all. In fact, fun fact of the day, that is actually the second fastest playoff goal scored ever, but the fastest playoff goal scored from this level in League One. Now, in the second half, if you notice from the momentum here, it's very end-to-end. You get Blackpool and then Lincoln, then Blackpool, then Lincoln to end it. But within this spell, one team took their chance, and that was Blackpool. And it's Kenneth Dougal again, a very similar goal actually, in a very similar position to his first goal, just outside the box. Very clean strike in the bottom right corner. I don't think Palmer could have saved that one. That one was really, really into the corner. But it was a brilliant goal. And when Blackpool took the lead in the 54th minute, they just needed to limit Lincoln. Now, what they did do is actually they improved their press. They really upped their pressing game. And I have to say, Stewart I thought was all right in this pressing game as well. But Husband as well made a really, really good effort in trying to limit the play as well. But Garbett eventually had to really step up and stop Brennan Johnson leading the charge and leading all of Lincoln's chances. I think Johnson got the better of him in the first half, and in the second half, Garbett did very, very well to stop him. And I actually think it really did frustrate Lincoln, but their source of attacking was actually sniffed out. And it was interesting for how little success Lincoln were now having in that right-hand side. So definitely Critchley had given instructions to Blackpool to stop Lincoln attacking through that right-hand side. Callum Morton had two pretty notable chances where if he was a bit more clinical, he should have hit the target and definitely at least should have tested Chris Maxwell in goal. Looking at the second half stats, I mean, if you look at that, that is a tale of two halves. As you notice here, Blackpool having more of the ball in the first half, in the second half, it was more from Lincoln there. And as you can see from the shots as well, very, very even this time. But once again, just like with Swansea, disappointingly, 0 shots on target. If you're not clinical, then you're going to waste your opportunities. And what's even more disappointing, they're all off target. Lincoln's big threat was from corners. They did have 5 corner kicks, but unfortunately for them, they just couldn't really finish it off. And from the 2 big chances missed, as I said, I think Joe Yates had one where he should have done better, and Embleton also had one where I think he should have done better with it as well. But overall, the second half wasn't as great as the first half, in my opinion. It wasn't as frantic, but Blackpool got the important goal, and because of that goal, they're now back in the Championship for the first time in 6 years. Their story to get to where they are now is nothing short of remarkable. They've had a change of ownership. They've had over 3 managers within that time frame as well. Eventually, they get a manager with his first proper senior manager job as well, and he leads them to the Championship. So fair play, Neil Critchley and Blackpool. You really, really have defied the odds. And the West Lancashire derby between Blackpool and Preston has returned to the Championship, I think for the first time in over 12 years. I think the last time they actually competed each other in the Championship was the 2009-10 season. So I'm really excited to see how both of those teams are going to react. But commiserations to Swansea and Lincoln respectively. They're both going to stay in their respective leagues for next season. Swansea will be interesting for the fact that Ayew, I think, will be out of contract. What's going to happen with Elijah Jamal Lowe? Freddie Woodman will be linked to a Premier League move for certain. Gueye will be likely to be linked as well. It could be a summer of clear out for Swansea. So I'm a bit fearful for Swansea, and I'm definitely going to be looking at their squad, especially in my next transfer show. With Lincoln, could be very similar, especially the likes of Brennan Johnson. I think he will definitely get some links. Tom Hopper could have a chance to get linked. Conor McGrandles looked pretty good. I think he can get a couple of links as well. There could be a load of links coming in the next couple of days with these 2 clubs. So they're definitely going to have a very busy summer. But that wraps it up for my reaction for those 2 playoff games. Let me know what you felt about those games in the comments down below. If you guys like what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't done. It does really, really help. We're 4 away from 550. If we could get there as soon as we can, that would really, really be appreciative. And please share this channel to as many people as you can. All that would really, really make my day. But that wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if it's only in this video. And as always, take care, everyone.